before we get started, we have something to announce. Steve has been laid off from the Fine Time podcast by Embracer Group. Do you have any parting words, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to take my exclusive rights to the TurboGrafx CD version of Zoop and all the other versions of Nuts and Milk, and you can all fuck yourselves, game preservation community.
I mean, I feel like it's Embracer Group who laid you off, not...
Nah, I feel like everyone suffers for this loss.
Let's start the show then.
Step into video game land. Welcome to Fine Time.
Hello, party people. It's your boy, Dre. And this time we're going to have a good intro, Steve.
This time we're going to have a good intro, Steve. That's you. That's how you sound.
Perfect. I couldn't have done it any better myself. Kevin, how would you rate that? That was pretty good, right?
I'm just kind of still reeling from the loss of Zoop at this point. I don't know. I'm just feeling a little bit frustrated with Steve. I don't want to give him a rating.
I haven't ever played Zoop. I know it was on like fucking everything. I've never played a Zoop.
It's fine. It's perfectly fucking fine.
I wonder if the PS1 version has like hot Red Book audio music.
It's gotta.
Right? It's gotta. I guess we can jump right in, or I can jump right in while you two flank me on either side while I talk about Armored Core 6. Because this has been a long time coming. Let me set the stage for anyone who's not familiar with the show or me, really. So I'm a From Software fan going back way back to the 90s, like with Kingsfield and the original Armored Core on PS1. I loved that shit. When the PS2 Xbox Cube generation got started, that continued. I mean, they had those two games at PS2 launch, Eternal Ring and Evergrace. And I'm the only one on planet Earth. When they unveiled Elden Ring, I thought it was a sequel to Eternal Ring because that's what kind of fucking geek I am. I'm the only one who thought that.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was very weird 5 minutes on the internet where you were very, very hopeful about that for no reason. I'm like, it is 3 a.m. I got work in a few hours.
I don't give a shit. They're making a sequel to Eternal Ring.
We could be excited about this in a few hours.
And then, well, we weren't, because in a few hours I found out it was just Dark Souls again. So I was like, oh, never mind, I guess. And of course, that's my bone of contention, right? Demon Souls happen. And Dark Souls happen. Dark Souls 2 happen. I'm just like, I'm out. I don't like these games. So it's been like a decade or so since I've gotten to enjoy a From Software game. So Armored Core 6 meant a lot to me. That it's good. But is it good? Yes, it's good. Spoiler alert. It is excellent. So let's start at the beginning of the game, because I'm sure you guys have maybe heard chatter around this on the interwebs, but the opening stage is a tutorial, but it also has a really hard boss at the end. It's tough.
Okay. Really hard, or really hard because, oh no, they didn't tell me to hit the big glowy spot in the middle immediately as soon as the battle started.
It's legitimately hard. It is. I restarted on it numerous times. And here's the thing. It's not actually super tough in the grand scheme of things. It's just that when you first start playing the game, you aren't necessarily prepared to fight something like that. But that's the point. Because by the time you learn how to beat that thing, you're ready for the game now. It gets you up to speed in a way that pretty much nothing else can. It's the ultimate trial by fire.
So after you didn't struggle on anything as much as that afterwards. That was kind of the peak difficulty.
No, I mean, I haven't beat the whole game, mind you. I'm pretty close. But no, there has been other hard bosses. It's just that for that point in the game, which is, level 1, there hasn't been anything that really jumps your shit like that initial boss does. And I get that's not going to be for everybody. And that, I guess that's okay. But once once you learn how to beat that thing, you'd be like, okay, I can take on anything. And it makes you feel empowered, which is great. So I was okay with it. The game feel is incredible. I think anyone who played any of the PS1 era Armored Core games knows that those were a bitch to control. Those came out in a time before DualShock, before we had analog sticks on that PS1 pad. So, ooh, baby, it was tough. It was tough, but it's a learning curve, and it was a fun learning curve back then. Obviously, these days you don't need to make things that arbitrary, because we have better options and we've learned a lot about the way we should control stuff. But the game feel is incredible. It feels fluid and fast. It feels, you don't feel like a lumbering, hulking thing, which is, like how some mech games you could kind of just feel like Godzilla. It's kind of stomping down and kind of lumbering. And I don't mind that kind of game feel either. That's fine. It's just in this game, it feels more like Virtual On. It feels very fluid and fast and flowing and logical. It's great.
Even just watching gameplay that kind of comes through. It doesn't look clunky at all.
No, it doesn't feel like it.
Is that why all the game clips you've been posting have Virtual On music in it?
Yeah, that's been my bit. I cannot believe you guys have not taken away the keys to the Fine Time Podcast account. Probably because then you guys will have to update it. But yeah, it's been the thing. See, I haven't done it in like 4 days. I'm kind of over it. I might do it again though.
You'll relapse.
I'll relapse. It's been a while.
I'm kind of hoping you do.
Okay, I'll do another one since I got a request for it. No, it feels so good. You know how I like to complain about games, especially AAA games, that have you do very arbitrary button presses to do like very specific things. Like in Horizon games, you have to like hold R1 and then press triangle and then like press it again to use like your grappling hook or something like that. It's just like, why is this like this? Nothing is like that in Armored Core 6. Every control decision feels super purposeful. And then your ACs, your armored cores, can feel very different depending on how you build them. You could say all sorts of, I guess you could say they're loadouts, but really you're just building different mechs from the parts that you have. Heavy ones, light ones, whatever fits your situation or the way you like to play. You can do that. They must have known how good the game feel was, especially when you're fighting another mech one-on-one. Because that's why I keep putting the Virtual On music over them, Steve, because it feels so fluid and good. It legitimately feels like a proper fighting game. Whereas like I can't say that about previous Armored Cores. Fighting mechs one-on-one was never like its strong suit. It was always better when you were fighting like here's some robots going into the
even the ones you liked.
Yeah, even the ones I liked. It was never like, they didn't feel bad. I think around like Armored Core 3, they started to feel a lot better. Definitely in the first one, it was just kind of clunky and whatever. Anyway, they knew how good these felt because there's an arena mode that you unlock as you play the game, where you just kind of do a bunch of one-on-one battles getting to the top of this ladder, which is kind of a side mode to break up the missions, the real missions, which is great. You don't have to do them, obviously, but they're just really fun. They knew how fun that was, and I'm glad they realized it. Also, the training missions are very useful. So, like, usually I might skip out on those because they're just telling me stuff I already picked up from playing the game or stuff that I already know. But if you do them, you get AC parts. They reward you for doing the training missions, and there's not too many of them. They stop giving you them, like, pretty early on in the game. So, and they're beneficial for doing so, which is something I appreciate. I wish more games would do that. But so I think the real thing about older Armored Core games was that it felt intimidating to build the mech.
I was about to ask, would you say, I gotta say Armored Core is one of those very big blank spots for me. Could I follow this along? Could I jump into Armored Core 6 and figure it out?
I don't see why you couldn't. There's definitely. I would say yes.
And have a gas.
You would have a gas. All the AC building stuff is very easy to read. All the parts have like very detailed descriptions on what kind of things they're good for and what kind of mech builds they're even good for. Hey, this is pretty good for a heavyweight tank, or this is good for, if you want to dual gun it or whatever. They'll say that stuff, which is excellent.
Is the building pretty mandatory, or is that something you can kind of gloss over if that's not what you're there for?
The building is pretty mandatory. You gotta choose your weapons. You gotta, make sure they're not too heavy for your build. But it's very easy. Like if you don't, this generator will give me more, energy or something. The numbers are very like JRPG. You'll see them going up and down. So it's pretty easy to follow.
Yeah, I'm not allergic to building things, but I can't exactly have imagined going in and then having everything suddenly not work the way I thought.
They won't let you see. It's not like old ones where they will let you go into a mission with a fucked AC. They will not let you do that, I don't think. So you're not.
Steve's dreams of building a mech that just looks like an English bulldog are gone.
Have you ever tried to play Kerbal Space Program where it's like, oh man, this thing is definitely going to take off this time, and it just explodes on the launching pad? They're not going to send you into the mission and then like mission start, kaboom. But speaking of missions, I'm so glad this game still has that classic mission and base structure, as I like to call it. Whereas you choose a mission from a menu, you teleport there, you go do it, and then you're back at your main base where you can build your mech and buy stuff and sell stuff and whatever. That's all the game is. Armored Core has always been that way. I'm so glad they kept it. They could have done some AAA bullshit with cutscenes and like people talking and like all this stuff we didn't need. And I would have hated it. That is not Armored Core. Armored Core needs to be this sort of structure. Also, I don't know. I guess maybe I can throw that out to you guys. Like a lot of games in like the PS2 era and stuff were like structured this way. I wonder why we don't do that anymore, because Armored Core 6 is kind of proving that's still valid. I think. Not everything needs to be this linear thing, Kevin.
I don't know. I think just the generation after overall, the focus on the industry was that we need to be able to compete with film and television. We need to be a viable, form of storytelling, and in some cases, great. But I think that was there was a lot of games that ran with that didn't need it, and that's kind of endured to some degree throughout the years.
For sure, couldn't agree more.
Now, Kevin's got it mostly right, but we're coming back around in more recent years. I think there's room for both. We need that, and we also need video games to be video games again. Well, it's evening out.
Yeah, and this is a video game as video game. And speaking of story, Kevin, it's more about mood than it is like plot. Like they're not giving you, they talk to you in between missions and you hear stuff and, whatever. But it's also like Armored Core has always been about like this sort of bleak future where it's just corporations and war and just like this very, very bad future, and you're just a mercenary basically in this game.
Are you getting like military briefings before missions kind of thing?
Yes.
I mean, I'm envisioning this like NES Bionic Commando type.
Yeah, kind of like that, honestly. Not too different. You have a handler, if you will. It's unclear whether he created you or not. He keeps calling you a fourth gen, which probably means you're some sort of generation of synthetic being. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. The game doesn't elaborate too much. Also, it doesn't really elaborate who's good or who's bad. You don't really know. Are you doing the right thing? Are you doing the wrong thing? Who knows? You're just out there earning money. Whoever hires you for a job, that's what you're going to do. And Armored Core has always been about this. And I remember when the first one came out, and this is before I even thought about these kind of things. They have text, before each mission telling you what you're about to do and why you're going to do it. And I remember this one where you're going on this bridge because the briefing said the workers on this bridge are protesting their wages and they're bringing out their ACs. So like, go kill them. And it's like, whoa, holy shit, and this is like 25 years ago, and I thought about this as a teenager, be like, whoa, this is kind of fucked up, right? But then the next mission has you like, they hire you and then you're fighting alongside them because you fucked them up last time. See, you're just a mercenary, you're not really playing a side. There is points though where you can kind of choose what you want to do or who you want to support. But again, there doesn't appear to be any great choices. So it's just kind of, this
isn't side with the nursing home or attack the nursing home.
No.
the nursing home for old armored cores that can't fight anymore. They're all just playing bingo in the rec hall.
Yeah. The graphics are kind of plain. Obviously this is a PS4 game as well. It runs 60 frames a second on PS5, obviously. Otherwise I wouldn't even fucking bother. But like it doesn't look super great as on like a technical level, but the sense of scale and the size is excellent. For instance, there's this one where you take down this giant contraption. It looks like 10 times bigger than what's the thing from Star Wars with the two long legs and the
ATSTs.
The tall way. AT, I think I'm thinking of. The thing they tie up with tow cables and then it comes crashing.
Yeah, the
down.
AT has 4 legs. ATST has 2 legs.
Okay, well then I'm thinking ATST because this had 4 legs. And you take down one of these and it is huge and it feels like it's huge. And it's so cool. And you take down this giant contraption by blowing out all its generators and such. It's a lot of fun. The sense of scale is excellent. And it's also something that's hard to get right in a robot game where it's like, cause you're huge, you are in a robot, but again, you don't feel like Godzilla. You actually do feel the sense of scale because ACs have become such a normal part of life or whatever in this world that obviously things are built big to accommodate big robots, surely. So it makes sense. Right? Versus like a robot appearing on Earth, right? Would appear like humongous. So I'm glad they got that part of it right. The only thing I might want to bitch about, so most of the bosses in this game are not like the Strider contraption I just mentioned. Most of them are just like these very hard, I hate to even say this, Souls-like kind of encounters. Now, I'm not saying they play like that, but you can tell that their previous work over the last decade has influenced how these bosses are. So that's the only aspect of this that I feel that they have taken from their recent work and put into Armored Core. Is this bad? I don't necessarily think so. However, previous Armored Core games certainly didn't have you fight like these asshole bosses. Not that they're not fun to fight. They are. It's just, I think you know what I'm trying to say. It's the only part of this.
Are they just like mechanically difficult or does it, like require a lot of nuance as far as control, or they just take like a shitload of damage, or what's the
kind of a bit of all of the above, all of the above again, which is fine. It's a new wrinkle to Armored Core. It's not a new wrinkle to From Software. And again, I don't even know whether those boss encounters are a good or bad thing. I mean, I guess it's fine. Either way, it evens out. There's pros and cons to doing it that way. But it's not every single mission. You don't fight something like that like all the time. If they were a lot of them, then I would probably bitch about it. I feel like so far in this game, there's the right amount. I'm dreading to see what the last boss is like, though. Holy shit. But they're fun challenges, so don't let that deter anybody. If you're like me and you don't like Souls games, don't be turned off by what I just said. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it. I love that they did this. They never had to do this again. They could have just made Souls games until the sun burns out, and they didn't. They went back to this. And it's been, not only has it been a long time since an Armored Core game, it's been a long time since a good Armored Core game. I thought 5 and its semi-sequel were not that good. So it's been a very long time, and we're back. I hope this isn't a one-time thing. I hope there's an Armored Core 7, or I hope there's an Armored Core 6 Championship Edition plus Alpha. I hope they just keep doing this. I do. And I think that's about it. Someone else talk about video games. I feel like I have talked long enough, Steve.
Yeah, okay. So a little bit of inside baseball for everyone. I'm playing a bunch of games across apps and things for different shows right now, so look forward to those. But you know what won't be making the cut to anything we're doing in the future? Turrican. I've never played a Turrican game before, or not for very long, but lots of people seem to like them. And then one day, NN scooped up the rights and did the whole, let's separate this shit out into too many collections for people to keep up with thing. But one $3 to $5 sale later, here's 4 of them in the form of Turrican Flashback, and they all suck. But not because of the port job. Radalaika was on that, and the actual porting is fine.
It's Radalaika?
According to the boot up screen, that was them. Yeah.
I thought it was M2 for some reason. They don't usually do Western games too often, though, so that wouldn't have made any sense. But anyway.
This set has Turrican and Turrican 2, the Amiga versions, Mega Turrican on the Genesis, and Super Turrican on Super NES. And they all start off neat enough. Your guys, you could see the guy easy enough. He's got a great walk cycle, all 4 of them, just this terrific walk cycle. Like, all right, this is neat. And he stole all the weapons you'd ever need from Contra and Metroid. And they just took all the rest of the wrong lessons from the rest of it.
I think if we're going to talk about the presentation aspects, I don't think we can skip over DAT music. Because shit's bumping.
The music is bumping, and they make sure you listen to it forever because the levels are too fucking big and meandering for no reason and no payoff, with a lot of copy-paste jobs. Like, this shit cycles through again and again, and you're thinking, like, what is this? Like, the mazes in Mario 1 and Bowser's Castle? Like, am I walking in the right direction? Like, and even worse, there's a time limit, so you're not really encouraged to meander too much. Enemies start soaking up your shots way too much. And even worse yet, it took 3 of these games to decide that they should do damage like a real game does. Like, you could be slowly getting killed by a spike that you thought was part of the scenery. And Turrican, I refuse to learn his real name. They gave him like
his name is Turrican.
Yeah, but come on, his name is Turrican. Mm-hmm. He Turrican feels no pain, but he definitely loses his damage meter because even when he's getting hit by things or he's in a hazard of some kind, that meter's going down, and then you're getting killed a lot. It's not fun. And I hear a handful of you going out there, Steve, surely you would give a pass to Super Turrican, the one where they figured out how to do the damage thing correctly, had a bitchin' opening, and was on the Super Nintendo. The thing
it does
that
have a bitchin' opening.
And the one that you would tend to give a pass to if you really had to. No, because whether they did any of that or gave a grappling hook like they did in Mega, that worked to varying degrees of reliability. Because holy shit, that's sick. It was like, okay, I need to climb up the wall now. No, maybe later. No, I really need to climb up the wall now. Come on. The time limits just suck any fun you might have had with, any fun you might have found with these, just go right out the window with the time limits. I'm more impressed that Factor 5 got more work out of this than anything else.
These were popular.
I don't get it. For years, everyone's been telling me Turrican. It's like the hidden gem of the old days.
You know who tells you that, though? This is going to lead into my theory. You know who says that, though, about Turrican?
Oi, the British people do with their computers. What?
Oh my God! We have. I'm for any British person listening. I'm sorry. I thought my British accent was bad. That was.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for this today. But I'm like, guys, I'm sorry you didn't buy a home console until the Genesis or Master System. But oh my God, I'm sorry. These aren't good.
Well, look, and it's something we've talked about in various spots amongst each other, but I think Turrican is really exemplifying it. We've talked about European, first half of the 90s European game design before. A great example is one of the worst games on Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, and Jelly Boy. Remember that shit?
Fuck that game.
Okay, isn't this built exactly like that, though? You know what was really popular that hardly any of them came here that's also built like that? James Pond. That sort of like big, open, giant fucking level kind of design.
Surprised they didn't slap that on there yet.
Yeah, you know, it's... But do you agree, though? Like, that's how European games, especially UK ones, were kind of done back then. If you wanted to have, like, an action game, but also give it this, like, adventure scope, just make the level so fucking big that it was like, man, what the hell am I doing here? Turrican is the exact same thing. And Turrican is the one that sort of pushed this design to the forefront. So
Metroid was right there, guys. If you were going to steal something, steal from that.
Yeah, but they wanted the feel of the adventure and not the actual adventure. It's like, you know, it's like when you're making chicken stock and you put the onions and carrots and celery in there, you're not going to strain them out. You're not going to eat them. You just want all the flavor of that stuff in the stock. That's what Turrican is trying to do with its approach to adventure.
Okay, I for $3 to $5, I learned my lesson. Okay.
Anyway, all I'm trying to say is European game design was often like this, so it's love it or leave it. I guess for you, it's leave it.
Turrican, more like Turric can't be picking up this shit anymore.
That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense.
Neither did wasting a few hours on Turrican Flashback. All right.
I mean, these are beloved games that have been re-released for a reason, Steve.
I already told you why, because NN bought the rights from the yard sale at Factor 5, and
who snapped up all the Factor 5 stuff? I wonder if it's just floating out there in the ether.
Well, NN put out this set. I don't know if that means they got everything.
I'm just going to assume City Connection has everything until proven otherwise.
That would be safe.
Kevin, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I played something good. Do you guys want to hear about it?
Yeah.
I've been playing. I don't know if you want to hear about it, Andre, because I've been playing Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, but I've been playing it on Switch. I knew it was coming out in a few weeks on real consoles, but I kept seeing trailers for it and it looked really good, and so I got it on launch day. I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably 3/4 of the way done if I had to ballpark. Very good so far. I think, the obvious comparisons are going to come up with Jet Grind Radio and Jet Set Radio Future. I don't have nostalgia for those. I didn't play any of those at the time of release. I've played somewhat of them in the years since, maybe for 3 or 4 hours each. I haven't finished either of them. It might be a little offensive to some that did play them at the time, but without having that nostalgia to compare it to, I feel like this just plays much better and it's got better flow. And I think it kind of hits the style aspect just as well as those games did. So if that's what you're looking for, I think this is going to scratch the itch.
I think that you're right, though, about this playing better. Even just by looking at it, I can tell, because Jet Set Radio feels kind of tanky. It's a momentum based game. So like you have to get grindy, you have to get dashing, otherwise you're just kind of ambling along. So they really want you to have this like inertia. I don't know if that's the right word, but
yeah, and that's kind of what I found, like, because I tried playing it on PC, so maybe I don't know if maybe that was the issue and I should have been playing it on Dreamcast, like dripping in style, but it just didn't feel that as fun moment to moment. Definitely not as fun as this did.
I can believe it. I mean, look, it's been a long time. No one's ever tried to do a game like this, so there's plenty of room for improvement,
Yeah. You plan on playing this at some point, I think, correct?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I won't go into the music too much, but I guarantee you're going to gush about the music. I'm confident
wait.
because the music is excellent. It's super good. They've got a good varied amount of tracks and yeah, all different, but everything just fits like a glove and is it's just super funky and's got a good groove. So I like that. If I had to pick one thing that I'm not real crazy about, so when you spray graffiti in here, which is something you do quite often, it stops and you have different directions that you can point the stick to make different designs, to do different graffiti patterns. And I don't really like that. I guess I kind of get that they want to give you the option, at any time, if you want to memorize all of these patterns to do, for the 3 different sizes of graffiti, what you want to do for it, then you do the designs, but it just kind of kills the flow for me. It's not super fluid when you do that. And for the larger ones, you've got to go in 5 or 6 directions when I just want to keep playing the game. Definitely not a deal breaker, but it's kind of got the same effect as a short loading screen to me.
It's just weird to hear you say that because it's like, oh man, I love the game where you skate around and do graffiti, except for the graffiti part. Well, it feels kind of.
I just wish they would have given me to say for each of the sizes of graffiti. Here's hold the L trigger and then do one of the 4 cardinal directions, and that's what it does. It just feels a little clunky when you stop to do the graffiti. I don't mind stopping to do it, but it's quite often when you do the bigger ones, I'd say you're stopped for between doing the input and seeing the animation of spraying the graffiti, probably 6 to 7 seconds. And I just wish it was a little bit more snappier than that for me.
Yeah, that's Jet Set Radio though. That's what they do. So I don't think they wanted to change that.
But they could have. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that was, or maybe even give you the option.
I feel well. Okay, so let me ask you this. Is this like Jet Set Radio in which people are chasing you? Or are you running away from the cops still?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So
not all the time, but it's definitely a thing that comes up and it's hard to get rid of the SWAT teams or cops or whatever.
Right. So the whole point of Jet Set Radio is that you get far enough away from the cops where you have the time to do those graffitis without them bothering you. Because if they interrupt you, then it's not complete, right? Then you can go back and complete it, once you ditch them again. It's not going to lose all your progress. But the whole point was okay, I'm safe enough where I can do this. That was kind of like the gameplay loop.
I want to say here, when you're doing the graffiti, I don't know that anybody is still moving. I feel like everything is frozen. I definitely haven't been caught by the SWAT team mid graffiti while I've been doing it. And even when you're at 4-star, wanted level or whatever, I don't know. I feel like, if they were taking the design of these games and cleaning it up to do something really cool with, that would have been a way to give you an option to, I definitely don't think leaving it as a little bit of a time thing is fundamental to the game design.
Well, it's not if the cops aren't breathing down your neck, then it definitely isn't.
Right.
So I think you would feel differently if it did have that danger element. But since it doesn't, then it does. I could understand how that would feel arbitrary.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe I just haven't been in a situation where I've got caught doing it. But again, I've probably got 6 or 7 hours in this, so I would be surprised if that was the case, or if it just comes late game. But yeah, again though, it's definitely a minor nitpick. It didn't ruin anything. One other, I wish there was a little bit more as far as grindable edges, so that you could set up lines. And I think it would be hard without really overhauling the mechanics of how the game works, because they give you a lot of leeway to chain together those combos when you can manual between grinds, or skating on the wall or whatever. They give you quite a bit of time to do that. So to give you more flow for those, for the grind edges, they'd have to change a lot of how the game just naturally works. But it just, I feel like it would maybe be a little bit funner that way, just to feel like it has more flow. Again, definitely not a deal breaker, but I just find myself at times, sometimes just trying to hop and boost and extend that manual just to figure out even where there's a viable place to keep grinding. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that, like, you know, Jet Set Radio came out in the era of like Tony Hawk being like the shit. So I wonder if people thought like Jet Set Radio was like a doing tricks and stuff, which is not really what you do in the game. Like you can, but it's not really about that. But I wonder if people at the time thought that's what it was. You know, it's just a weird thought I had. I don't know.
I think you're on the right track, because I think I'm still thinking the same thing, where it just, you know, I'm not wanting it for like a combo to like amp up score, but just for like the fun of playing. I feel like if it had more of kind of like, you know, some thought put into, we have like sequences of places to grind, and you definitely find that. But if it was just like more intrinsic rather than kind of like one-off places where they've set up those lines, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I get what you're saying.
I love just like there's definitely an established gameplay loop to this, and I love when I get to points where just the goal is to like figure out how to get somewhere. They'll find a place that's like really high up on the map, or you know, something that you can see but can't get to, and it'll just be like, okay, this is where you need to go. We're not going to give you any context or clues for how to get there, and just spending the time like exploring and figuring out how to manipulate things to be able to get there. That just feels really good and rewarding. And I don't even want to describe what these are, and I don't think it would be spoilery. But I think because for anybody that is going to play this, it's just so good to just like experience yourself the first, you know, each time you do it. There's specific sections that are very unique portions of this game, and they're just done so incredibly well, aesthetically. Like it just, you know, when I talk about like doing the lines, that's what I'm getting out of those sections for sure.
Okay.
So I won't go any further into that, but if you have played this and you've got, you know, very far along, you'll know what I'm talking about, and those just continue to get better and better and better. So, yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this. I admittedly do maybe kind of wish I would have waited to play it on Xbox or PS5. The Switch does have an unlocked frame rate mode, and when you first turn that on, and then you're hitting 60 and it feels good until all of a sudden you're not hitting 60 anymore, and then going back to 30 gets a little bit tougher. But I turned that mode off pretty quickly, because it's not running way higher than 30 all the time by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm sure there is a reason why they locked it to that, and I kind of expected them to before it came out, because I'm like, there's no way they're gonna let this thing just run wild. But it's surprising that they let you turn that on if you want it, though.
Now I did, and maybe I'm just like very wishful thinking. So you guys tell me if I'm completely on the wrong track with this. Is there any chance that they added that mode in, you know, with the expectation of a Switch successor coming, or that they maybe know something and they're like, let's just bake it in where you can, you know, play at 60 if you want? Like, yeah, maybe
it's possible. I feel like a lot of those PS4 Pro enhanced games, like in like 2018-19, knew exactly what they were doing with the 60 frames per second mode, even if it wasn't perfect. It's like, okay, let's just put this in because so yes, I think that is possible.
I don't know. I feel like if that wasn't the idea behind it, I don't think that mode plays well enough on Switch to justify putting it in there just to play it on Switch.
This is assuming that Switch games will run enhanced, though. I don't know if Nintendo's ever done, like GameCube games didn't run enhanced on Wii or something like that, right? I mean, the hardware wasn't different enough to warrant that, I guess. So maybe it's not a apples to apples comparison.
But I mean, just if you played the exact same version of the game and it was essentially in backwards compatibility mode, if the hardware had the oomph to, you know, push it at pretty close to 30, I can see why they would do it that way.
Yeah, that would definitely be a thing, I think. Okay, we're going to take a break. My friend Trevor is going to join me next. Before we do big questions, he has a book he wants to talk about. I want to talk about it with him. That's going to come up after this break.
Fine time.
All right, we're back, and as I said, Trevor is joining me now. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here.
I hate to start so cliche, but since you've never been on Fine Time before, just introduce yourself. I hate when people ask this to me, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway.
Oh, no. That's like my favorite thing to do, to ask people questions I don't want to be asked. I had like a thing on Patreon episodes for a long time. I don't know why I stopped. I really need to bring this back. It was like a consistent Patreon episode thing. And I decided, you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to do something harder. But I'd ask people if they had an unlimited budget, right? And like full creative control. If they what game they would make. And every time I said it, I was like, I would even vocalize it. I say, like, I would hate if someone asked me this question. This would drive me insane. But I need you to answer it. So this is only my just desserts. I've done it to many, many people.
Okay, good. See, I'm thinking about it now, and I have no idea what my answer would be. So it is a question. Yeah,
it's
tough.
So tough. Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, my name's Trevor. I have a podcast called No Cartridge about video games and other things, kind of media at this point, but it's still mostly video games. Sort of takes like critical approaches to it. A lot of interviews. We talked to some people in the industry that you might know, some that you might not, but people like Scott Benson, who did Night in the Woods, Rope Kid himself, creator of Fallout New Vegas. We've talked to Josh a couple of times. Yeah, no, he's a blast. He's a really nice guy.
That's awesome. That's a great get.
Yeah, no, it was like, so I also have a book called Story Mode. It was a neat little time to be able to get blurbs on the book, because I got to ask people that I just thought were cool. Mm-hmm. And so I got David Roth from Deadspin, who I'm buddies with, and
nice.
It was just nice. It was nice to have it. Like, it was just nice to have him read something I wrote. Like, we've talked a lot, but other than that, I had Dia Lucina, who I'm a great fan of, and then Josh Sawyer, and I was like, wow, this is great. Like, I talk about this guy's game in my book. Like, this is exactly right.
That's so super cool.
It was rad. But no, I mean, basically my job, one of my jobs is to do this podcast where I get to talk to cool people. It's probably a little like your job. It is enviable, not inenviable. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, No Cartridge and Story Mode, and also this Doom Kickstarter that we're doing now. Me and Mark Normandin trying to get it off the ground.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to talk about that in a second. I want to thank you personally, though. I don't know if I ever have, for like when I was trying to get Fine Time off the ground here, just your few retweets of yours. Like,
really?
That, I honestly, that spread it around. Like, we got such a good, I mean, we were coming from another podcast, so we already had a bit of a built-in audience, you know what I mean? But spreading around a new name is hard. And even just that got a lot more traction in our early days than I think we would have without you doing that. So even though, great. Like, I mean, I'm sure you didn't think anything of it, but I've always wanted to thank you for that, just because it was great for us.
Well, you're absolutely welcome. No, I thought about it because I do see, whenever I see people doing like work, like people I like, even before I listened to it, because I retweeted those before I listened to Fine Time, but I like Fine Time quite a bit. So it was like, I trusted that you guys were putting out good stuff. Like, I would never have assumed otherwise. But it's something that I like to do. Like, if I look at my followers, it's like kind of it's not the biggest number you've ever seen, but it's also like a number that's bigger than I would have ever expected. So it's like, well, if I can spread out good stuff to people, then I'm always happy to. And like, honestly, retweeting and telling people about Fine Time, I mean, it's nice. It's nice to have people in the space that are doing similar stuff in spirit and practice to what we do at No Cartridge, because it's like, it's just cool. It's nice to have smart people talking about video games. Always
No Cartridge for sure. Kind of. I mean, like, I influence is maybe a little strong. Don't take that the wrong way. I don't mean it like, you know, like, you know what I mean? But I mean, just listening to your show made me think like, oh, this is a way I can just be this. I can just present myself as is. You know, I'm not putting on a wacky character or being someone I'm not or anything like that.
Yeah,
you know? Actually,
like that's one of the things about podcasting that I think is really cool. Like, I was talking to Sam Sheehan, who's on the Uniball podcast. If you have any Hoopers in the audience, maybe they've heard that. mostly a Sixers podcast, but I think since the Sixers are like so infuriating now, it's actually become more NBA focused. And Sam's a Celtics fan, so he always brings that back in.
Man.
But I was talking to him, and I was talking to him about Blowback, which I greatly admire what they do at Blowback. And we were talking. I was just like, man, that is the sleekest podcast out there. Like they are just doing so much good stuff. And he was like, yeah. He's like, but, and I was like, it's not coming from a place of envy. Like, I really just am so impressed. And he was like, it's also different. Like what you and I do and what you do as well is sort of like, it's not scripted, it's extempore. And I realized thinking about that a little bit, that there is this like really interesting ecosystem in podcasting between like the scripted folks and the really sort of ad lib folks, like people who are just doing interviews or talking off the cuff. And I don't think I'd like if one or the other went away. Like, I think it's really cool that there are shows where, like, I can listen to you talk about video games, and I know it's you, my friend, like, talking about this stuff, and I'm getting your opinion uncut and sort of, like, from you, as opposed to, like, oh, like, you have to be this, your role is to be mean critic or nice critic or, like, wacky critic or whatever.
I just can't, it's just, it's a lot.
No, this is much better.
Yeah. I agree with the off the cuff versus scripted. In fact, next week on the show, I'm doing my first solo show. I've already recorded. It's in the can. Wow. I scripted most of it. I'd never tried anything like that before. So
the Pizza Dinosaur hour.
The Pizza Dinosaur 35 minutes. I don't think anyone wants to hear me for an hour. But I tried it and I think it came out pretty good. I'll see how people react to it. But you're right. I think it can be both. But tell me about this new thing you got going on. It's a book and it's a Kickstarter going on right now. So tell us about it.
It is. So it's a Kickstarter. The Kickstarter's that I'm saying this now because I'm horrible at promotion. I feel like I've mentioned my book to like 6 people in the past month, and they're like, you wrote a book? Oh, this is bad. I'm glad my agent's not here to hear this. It's kickstarter.com/projects/Doom at 30. It's, if you look up Kickstarter Doom at 30, you'll find it. It is
the link will be in the description, folks. Go ahead and check it out. Yeah.
Honestly, even better. This is a great podcast. But the pitch is basically, I mean, I could read this all, but my version of the pitch is Mark Normandin, who you might know from, all sorts of stuff. He writes a retro gaming letter. He writes about baseball. He writes for Paste a lot. He's all over the place. He's a really prolific writer. I admire his output quite a bit. But Mark got in touch with me. We've been friends for a while, and he was thinking, like, why don't we just try and do something that is a little bit like, he put together a project after SB Nation fell apart, called Project to be Named Later. And Project to be Named Later, the basic idea was there was a bunch of writers from SB Nation that were no longer working, and they got together and wrote a book of essays, and the book of essays got published via Kickstarter. Everyone got paid on a flat scale. Basically, everyone got paid the same, from the people who created it to the people who just contributed. So no one got paid like awesome. The CEO. Yeah, and so that's the idea with Doom at 30. It's the first attempt at this. I mean, we have the nice thing is the company's not going anywhere. The company being me and Mark is not going anywhere. Even if this Kickstarter doesn't get funded, we'll try other things. But this is hopefully the first project that will be successful among many. And the idea is it's a bunch of essays sort of celebrating Doom, the video game, on its 30th anniversary. It's unofficial. We don't have any affiliation with John Romero, although I like to think he'd be cool with it.
He's pretty cool about stuff like this, honestly, from what I can tell. Yeah, so.
He seems great. Like, I loved all those old tweets that were dug up where the one guy was like, this happened and I did this one. John Romero was doing that. And John Romero just responded. He's like, actually, I think you misremember. The way that it worked was so genial.
I love that can happen on the internet. Have you ever like trolled around like YouTube comments of like an old music video or something, and then someone's like, hey, I directed this video and blah, blah, blah. Like you see comments like that sometimes, or even from the band, if it's like a 2-hit wonder from like the 80s or something like that, that's pretty obscure. It's like, hey, when we wrote this song, you can actually find stuff like that sometimes. It's really cool.
I think that's really great. Like, honestly, like hearing from people, like one of the things that I found writing the book, like my favorite things to find were when people, and I mean, like there are certain creators who are known for this, like the FromSoft creators, Miyazaki particularly, is like well known for being like, this reminds me of like a perfectly allegorical story that I can tell you now. Like that's just kind of his thing. But like there are a lot of creators who aren't known for that, who like you'll Google and they'll be just like, I thought X, Y, or Z, and it'll just be so profound. And I love that. I love that part of the internet that we have this archive of what these people actually thought. Because I mean, got to give them credit; they're very interesting. But we have a bunch of people signed on, including I'll read down the list. You might know them: Demetrius Bell, who does baseball video games; Mads Blondeau, who is a writer, podcaster, agender miscreant, founded Paste, anime feminist, coming soon, etc. Carrie Brunskill, UK writer; Latoya Ferguson, who wrote an encyclopedia of women's wrestling; Elijah Gonzalez over at Paste; Brendan Hess for doing a lot of the art in the piece; Sorel Kara-Jung, who does virtual reality game development at Ohio University. She does, which is pretty cool. Ken Kunzelman, who you might know from Waypoint, Mark and myself, of course, Liz Ryerson, Colin Space Twinks, who does all those lists that everyone loves for like the sales.
I know,
Jackson from Abnormal Mapping, and Carly Valachi, and everyone who is a video games and tech journalist, excuse me, and all these really cool people. I just rushed through because no one likes to hear me talk that long. But the book is, it's all essays and reviews and all this stuff from folks. And the cool part about it, but maybe the part that's making it a little something that we have to push a lot of people to get their eyes on, is you can get the whole book for $1. Just $1, and you get the book, which is pretty tight. And then, and of course, there are perks after that. But the main thing is, the project is meant to be accessible to anyone, anyone who could put $1, look at a PDF, and then meant to be fair in kind of an industry that is extremely unfair, which is video games writing, where people are just getting screwed left and right. I mean, I don't know if you guys have covered, I haven't listened recently enough because this was just now, but I don't know if you covered CBR or anything.
This year has been a bloodbath, and probably after the segment, we're going to talk about Embracer Group and shit like that. So, I mean,
sure, that was the other big thing this week. Yeah, this year has been insane for that kind of stuff. Absolutely, yeah. It's just it truly is. Like it was the first time that because like I've been unemployed for the past couple of months, and I've been applying to various jobs, and to support my real job, which is podcasting, of course. But the one job I got a callback for was for CBR, which people have been tweeting about a lot, and I mean, I won't blow up their spot entirely because many people who are more involved already have, but I got to tell you, like, it was the first job I'd ever read the remuneration to my wife for, and she said, "You can't take that job. Like, I don't care. Like, it's not worth your time." So it's rough out there. It's so bad. So I mean, that's kind of what we're hoping to do. We're hoping to. It's a drop in the bucket, but it's a good ideological project, and it's kind of our attempt at making a little publishing oasis out there in the wilds.
Yeah, $1, everybody. You can't beat that. That is so cool. And that's kind of when I looked through it, I was like, wait, because usually Kickstarters will have like, hey, you just want to support us, throw us $1. It's like, wait, no, I get the book for $1. Holy shit,
right,
like that's
exactly.
That's crazy.
And that's how we did. That's how Mark and everyone at Publication to Be Named Later did it. And it was, I feel like there's a real community spirit to it with that, which, I mean, that's something, I don't know if you struggled with this on Fine Time, but like, because I mean, it would be behind the scenes, which is where I struggle with it too, for No Cartridge. It's like, it's tough figuring out how to gatekeep in order to make money for these things, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's tough to be able to figure out like, well, what do I hold back from people? Like, what do I keep from people? Because like, I like the fact that everyone can hear my stuff, right? I like the fact that if people want to listen to my podcast, they can get it mostly for free. And if I do something cool, the marketer in me says like, oh, put that behind a paywall. People will pay money to hear that.
Right.
And then the sort of like the idealist in me is like, people are going to want to hear this for free. And and like I kind of appreciate what we're doing with Doom at 30, because it's kind of the best of both. It's a really serious work, but it's also open to everyone pretty much. And
as far as that goes with Fine Time, if we talked about it amongst ourselves, I think we like the ad supported model, not doing Kickstarter, just do ads. If like Manscaped wants to pay us to say whatever, we will. I like the idea of all of our content being free as well. So that's the way we would do it.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Patreon, and that's been really helpful, and I try to keep that robust. But I also think, like, I don't know, ads seem to be the way to go for a lot of things. Because, again, like, everyone gets it. If you want to have ad-free, you can always toss a couple extra bucks that way. But, like, if you don't care, then you can listen to whatever you want. But, yeah, no, hopefully it gets made. Hopefully everyone really enjoys reading it when it is. So, I really appreciate having me on to talk about it.
Yeah. Can I ask you a couple Doom questions though?
Oh, absolutely. That wasn't me signing off. I swear. Okay. That was me. That was me sort of like uncomfortably being like, I've come to the end of my ability to promote.
I understand what you were doing. I just wanted to be like, take the hook and be like, get back here, Trevor.
I had a no. I want to stay on the show. I just can't. I can't talk more about my project because it's terrifying.
I totally understand. No, just a few minutes. I want to know a few things. So, like,
please take all the time you need.
Okay. So a couple things about just my Doom experiences. I was a console peasant. I don't think I had a PC at home until like 1997.
Okay.
So like I played Doom, and of course like I played Doom at like, on the school computer secretly, or like, like at friends' houses or whatever. But secretly. Like I played Doom on PlayStation. Like okay. that was my thing. And it was such a, for the time, it was such a good port. It was like leagues better than Super Nintendo, or like, like some of the other ones out there, like I guess like 3DO or whatever.
And 64 and PlayStation had decent ports of Doom, as I recall.
And of course, Doom 64 is like an original
Oh yeah,
work,
I mean, I guess port is a little rude. Yeah, that's
but I mean, it's obviously based off of a thing. But that's how I mostly played them, and as a result, this is like my most controversial Doom opinion. Okay, I'm gonna say something bad here. I've never liked the music in Doom.
Oh, really?
At any point on PC, it's so that jangly MIDI. I understand they're trying to do like a metal thing. I get what they're trying to do.
Well, yeah, it's all they had at that point.
Never liked it. Whenever I played any version of Doom, that music slider went zoop, right to the left.
So. Well, have you played Doom 2016? Did you like the music there?
I did not. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you didn't like it, or you didn't play it?
I did not like the music. I loved Doom 2016, and I love Doom Eternal even more. But yeah.
Yeah, you got to play it on mute at least. That's really interesting. Part of me thinks that makes sense, even though I do love it, even though I'm a big fan, because I grew up playing it at like the shareware version on my computer, and then some of my friends would have like the more robust, like full or full-ish version. None of us were cool enough to pirate games. We just had the hope our parents would like pocket up $20 to buy a game they ideologically disagreed with. I can understand it, because it's like it's such a choice. Like, it's such like heavy, like kind of like crotch rock metal.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like Pantera. Like, I've never been a huge Pantera head. And part of that is just because I don't think I heard it at the right time in my life. I think if music like that hits you when you're like ready for it, it kind of gets its hooks in you forever. Mm-hmm. And so like the Doom theme sounds like, yeah, all right, this is cool. But like, there's a million other things that are supposed to sound like that to me that I'm just like, I don't feel it. Like, I don't know what to,
I just didn't do it. The PlayStation 1 versions of Doom and Final Doom, and subsequently, I think Doom 64 reused this music as well. They have like this like atmospheric, like weird, like using the CD Red Book, like it was like some weird, like, creepy, like horror kind of soundtrack. It was strange. Like,
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. So like I preferred that to like the MIDI tunes, but it definitely that still wasn't necessarily like what I wanted to hear either. So I always
you sort of hit it down. Yeah, you hit it in that weird moment where like after Doom 2, in Doom 3, they tried to make it more into that survival horror feel. They tried to like key into that a little bit, which I feel like, I mean, there are actually a couple of things in the upcoming book that deal with this, but like I think Doom 3 has had its like critical moment come back. Like I think people like it now.
Yeah.
But like it was so panned at the time, but I feel like you were a bit ahead of the curve in saying like, this isn't quite right, but I like the fact that it's a little creepy instead of like a MIDI metal thing.
Yeah, it was just, it was more fitting, but not exactly what I wanted. What do you think of this like current, what we call boomer shooter trend? Like, like the indie games are doing this and like, and here's the thing with it. And this is not just this trend, but like, I think a lot of indie games that try to do a retro thing is there's a problem where they know what it looks like. They know what it sounds like, but the level design doesn't always happen. Like I really enjoyed the way like Proteus looked and sounded. I don't think I enjoyed it on a level design from a level design level, at all. So
I understand what you're saying. Like I've had games that feel like good and bad that way. I think like thinking about like retro just from a general standpoint, I'm trying to think of what that game was called. There was like a Ninja Gaiden like that was
The Messenger?
The Messenger, yeah, which I thought that was really fun. They had like this weird libertarian thing at the end, and I was like, why are you including this, The Messenger? Like what are you doing to me here? What is this? But like the game itself worked so well because it felt like an old game. Like it felt like a little bit like Ninja Gaiden or Shinobi.
Right.
On the other hand, there's the I'm so bad with names, but maybe you can help me. There's the Metroidvania that's sort of like also a Souls-like, and it has like heavy Catholic Church imagery.
Hollow Knight?
No, Hollow Knight's amazing. It's like what is it? Unhallowed or let me see. Hold on.
Death. No, that's not it.
Let's see. Souls-like. Catholic.
I can't believe this is a thing we can search. I'm hella leaving this in.
Blasphemous. Yeah, that's the game. It's a neat game. Like I don't want to say it's a bad game. I beat it. I completed it. I did the whole thing. It does not feel like a Metroidvania. It feels like a game that is not really like that because it's not hard in the same way. It's hard in a completely different way. The levels feel different. So I feel you on that.
Yeah.
There are some like the boomer shooters I've played have been pretty curated. Like I like the Dave Oshry boomer shooters. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I don't think so.
He did a Medieval and he's on LinkedIn. That's very helpful. He's part of New Blood Interactive. So a Medieval, Dusk, Ultra Kill. And then Faith, the Unholy Trinity, which is different, I think. But Ultra Kill, I think, is his. No, that's not out quite yet. He has another one coming out. But I've tried a Medieval by him, and a bit of Dusk. And a Medieval is great. Like I don't know if you remember when the Doom guys tried to branch out, not well with Daikatana, but before Daikatana when they did Heretic.
Oh yeah, I love Heretic and Hexen.
So you might like a Medieval because there's a real feel of Heretic and Hexen to it, in that like it is sort of like a medieval sword and sorcery game, but it's just a first person shooter basically, and the level of design in that is so difficult. It's a very hard game, although I tried it on hard, so that's on me. Right. But the frustration of it is not the frustration of like you guys didn't do a good job with this. It's the frustration of finding it like, oh, this is like picking up a game like Hexen or Heretic where like sometimes it's unfair. Sometimes they're doing stuff that's supposed to frustrate you and make you irritated. And you have to run your head against the wall like 6 times to figure out how to like play the game the right way. And like I think that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing to ask a boomer shooter as a genre, I guess, the boomer shooter genre to do consistently. Because basically you're asking like, can you alienate your audience just a little bit and, pair off about like 20% of them because they're frustrated in order to make it a lot like the original thing. And I love that it's original like that. I get why people aren't always confident enough to do it.
Yeah, it's very tough. Like, me and Steve are pretty harsh critics about this stuff. Like, we did not like The Messenger.
Really?
Or yeah, like after a while, I think we just, both of us kind of came to the consensus, like, this is too much. Like, there's a reason why like Ninja Gaiden is like an hour long. I think we just thought it was like
it was
a
too
lot.
long.
Yeah. And the same with Hollow Knight, because Kevin fucking loves Hollow Knight. It's like his favorite shit. So he insisted we both played it. Steve didn't like it at all. I was much more receptive to it, even though I thought it was like fine, but I didn't like love it or anything. And Steve didn't like it at all. So it's just, I don't know. It's a very hard thing to get right, you know?
So the one thing I always hesitate with Hollow Knight is that it feels not quite like a Metroid game, and not quite like a Castlevania game, and not quite like a Souls game, even though it's kind of going for that. And when it doesn't quite feel like that, I'm like, oh, this is something a little different. It feels a little, for lack of a better word, hollow. So I'm not of the opinion that it's like my top 5 games or anything like that, but I did have a lot of fun with it. I think I'm probably closest to you as far as that goes.
Want to know, this will be a perfect way to cap this off because we're just talking about it. You want to know what the topic is next week, the solo show?
I'm so excited. What is it?
It's why I hate the term Metroidvania.
It's such a bad term, dude. It's so bad.
I hate it. So I talk about it for 35 minutes. So
well, it's the perfect term for like people who care about video games like in a serious way, because like it mirrors the academy in that like there are a million terms in academia when I was like doing my PhD and stuff where like it would be these terms that I hated, like hybridity. Hybridity is a term that was in post-colonial, well, I mean, post-colonialism in and of itself, but like in the post-colonial field, they talk about hybridity a lot. And I worked a little bit in that, but not too much. But like hybridity was such an annoying term because it didn't work. There were all sorts of essays about how like this doesn't work. This is stupid. And like, no one could come up with a better term. So we're just all using it. Or like, close reading. People would have issues with close reading and they'd be like, well, we need to do far reading. And it's like, now both of those terms. What are you doing? And so Metroidvania is perfect. You're trapped in the castle using that. Like, you can only use the term Metroidvania to critique Metroidvania. It's so frustrating.
It's a tough one. But yeah, I go through all the ins and outs of it, why I hate it.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I'm so excited.
Give it a listen, see what you think. Next week, folks, you can also listen to that. Well, Trevor, thanks for joining me. Doom at 30. Again, look in the description of this podcast. Look for the link to his Kickstarter and no cartridge and other such stuff. Trevor, thank you.
Privilege to be on. Thanks so much, man.
All right, we'll be right back with big questions.
You're coasting with Bind Time.
All right, we're back. Thanks again, Trevor, for joining me. Hope you guys check out that book in the description of this podcast soon. All right, so before we get going on big questions, I have kind of a random one I want to ask. I've asked this to a Discord that I'm in, and we had varying opinions, and I want to bring it to you guys. Has Joe Biden ever played Pac-Man? Kevin.
Yeah, I would put money on it. I would assume so.
See, I don't think he has, Steve. I don't think he's played Pac-Man.
He has, but he has no idea what it is or would be able to tell you what it was.
So he completely forgot that he's ever played Pac-Man. Like,
I'm just trying to imagine, the scenario. The 80s, I would imagine everyone's played Pac-Man at least once during that time.
I'm pretty sure Joe Biden's played Ms. Pac-Man as well.
Oh, wow. So he's kind of a... See, like, okay, Obama has absolutely played Pac-Man. Like, he hella loves Pac-Man, right? I just don't think Biden has...
I just think, like, pretty much everybody has, especially anybody that was alive during the heyday. I don't think Biden has played Pac-Land.
Okay. It's too far for him.
No, but Pac-Man was like everywhere, even where video games weren't. So if he's getting his suit dry cleaned, like as an emergency, he absolutely played a Pac-Man.
And so how old are his kids? Because his kids were probably his kids were saying, "Hey,
yeah,
we want to
you're
play
right.
fucking Pac-Man."
They would have been the right age, and maybe he would have. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because he probably has Gen X kids, right? So like, they're probably that's about the time for that. I didn't even think about.
You know what's on Hunter Biden's laptop is MAME emulators with Pac-Man.
Hunter Biden loves to play Cadillacs and dinosaurs on me.
And that's what they really don't want us to find. Because then the rights holders will want more. This is going
to be a copyright nightmare.
That's the whole thing. We just blew the shit wide open.
Yeah, all-time high scrutiny on emulation by the end of 2023.
Has Corn Pop ever played Pac-Man? Okay. All right. I guess we can wrap up Gamescom 2023. There wasn't like any real new announcements here. The thing that was relevant to me is that Tekken 8 got a release date, January 24th, 2024. Yes, I have pre-ordered the $100 version already. Thank you very much. So that's happening. GOTY 2024 already.
What do you get for the $100?
I don't know.
Real quick.
I have no idea. No, you get
extra graphics on PlayStation 5.
$100.
Yeah, $100. I'm not going to give you 70. I'm going to give you 100. I'm going to round it up. I'm going to tip a corporation for giving me a video game. No, you get like the season 1 pass of characters and shit. You get like some costumes and shit. Yeah, whatever.
Fucking high roller, jeez.
Nightdive Studios announced Turok 3 and Star Wars Dark Forces. That is so fucking exciting to me. Dark Forces in particular. I used to play the PS1 version a lot. And, back then, first-person shooters from PC, the ports were, of varying quality. This was a really good one. And I really enjoy Dark Forces. Why have I don't know shit about Star Wars. I have played so many Star Wars games in my life. It's so weird.
While we're on Dark Forces, I didn't really like the redone art in the cutscenes, to be honest. I thought the pixel art looked better.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. It just looked a little cheaper. I mean, who cares? But just it's the topic.
Maybe it's a toggle. Maybe you can do like original, like, because I know like in the Turok 2 Quake 2 that just came out, you can kind of toggle a lot of things because they cleaned up a lot, but you can toggle them back to like original settings if you want to. And I heard that Quake 2 port is like stupendous shit. So maybe that will be the case with Dark Forces. You guys ever play Dark Forces? I
haven't, but I might play this.
Yeah.
I'll probably play this, although I'm not so sure about Turok 3. I've had... Have you ever played Turok 3? Because I've only played I played the first one on N64, but I've only played the second one for the first time when they did the port on Switch, and I wasn't the biggest fan.
Turok 2 is a beautiful mess. It's the best way I can put it. It is. Yeah. It's really ambitious, and it's put together in a way that doesn't always make sense. Shit, I want to get that Turok 2 port just so like when I go underground and fight like the guys with the armor, it doesn't slow down to like 5 frames a second. That would be nice.
Okay, I can promise you it doesn't do that. But
okay, because that's what it did on N64. Oh my god! So my friend, I never had the expansion pack for N64. I just never really acquired it. My friend brought his over one time to use on my Turok 2. It made it really sharp, but it tanked the frame rate even more. It was so bad. Like, it was already bad. But then you bump it up to that res, and then it's like, oh no. It was something. Anyway, looking forward to that. What else, Steve?
Yeah, see, I'm glad you pointed out that there was no real new announcements, because I'm like scouring Gamescom news, like, the shitty podcaster I'm like, oh shit, we need Gamescom news. And I'm like going through, I'm like, this is getting a date and this is getting a date. And I'm like, oh, thank God, this is mostly shit that's been announced 2 months ago at Games Fest, all getting dates. And Sonic releasing a day before Super Mario Wonder. Good fucking luck with that one, you guys.
Oh, they'll be fine. It won't matter. Seriously, I really don't think it'll matter. I actually don't. That's fine.
You really think so?
Yeah. Maybe because I'm a sick Sonic person or something. I don't know. I
get it. I don't know that those are like, in direct like mind share competition with each other, really.
Not anymore. Anyway.
Yeah. We also got a teaser for the Fallout TV series, which you didn't see a whole lot in that teaser, but I'm pretty curious to see how that turns out. I hope they keep it weird and morbid.
I hope so too, because that could be an actual really good series if they keep the right tone, which I hope it does. There was also that Super Mario Brothers Wonder Direct. Did we have any big takeaways from that? I mean, to me, it looked exactly what I thought I was going to see. Kevin, let's start with you. What did you think?
I thought it, and I thought it looked polished when we first seen it, but I was floored by how polished it looks. It seems like they've really had that in the oven for a while. So yeah, I appreciated that. I really like they were showing off the badges, and some of the mechanics for that looks pretty fun. They had the vine grappling hook. I thought that looked pretty neat. They had Luigi doing the dolphin swim. Mm-hmm. And then Andre, I know you wanted to talk about does this look like it's going to be challenging enough? And I definitely think there's going to be some optional end game stuff just because it looks like they've put so much work into that, and it looks to me like it plays very tight. So I think it lends itself well to that. I would be surprised if we don't get some, probably not required to finish the game, but I think it'll be in there for those that want it.
Yeah, see, and that's been the approach for years and years now. Stick the really hard stuff behind these unlockables, which I'm not a fan of it. I understand why they do it that way nowadays, but the level design has the potential to be really challenging and do these like very interesting things. I liked when stages in, of course, I'm going to talk about Mario 3 because when would I not, had these like very like bespoke things. Like there's only one stage with the angry sun, right? As far as I know, there's only one stage where you do that like diagonal super. Remember, I think it's stage 510. Basically, it's just like you're scrolling upwards diagonally pretty fast with all these like donut lifts and shit in the sky or in like these tracks, and it's like very like, oh my god, like I just hope I get shit like that, man. I really want some like, again, I don't want like controller throwing like asshole stuff like the lost levels, but I need some bite. Please give it.
And you want that to be a prerequisite to finishing the game.
I guess so, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Because, in Mario 3, if you really don't want to do something, for the most part, you can use like a P-Wing, right? Or you can use I wish we would go back to that. So, if you don't really feel like being challenged that much, you don't have to.
It.
Yeah, you snab it.
I don't think they're going to do that just because this is tailing the Super Mario Brothers movie, and like that was a huge thing for kids. My daughter, she doesn't usually give a shit about any video game. She likes Goat Simulator, and she is fired up for Wonder. So
who doesn't like Goat Simulator? Every child would like Goat Simulator. Awesome. Steve, what did you think? I mean,
you know me, I didn't think we needed 15 minutes for this, but there was a lot to like. I'm sure the youngins in people's lives are going to like Yoshi Nabbit being easy in very easy mode, but playing as them exclusively is going to lock you out of things. So maybe this is the one that will encourage a sense of wonder and, make you play as the main characters, where you have Peach and Daisy. I mean, otherwise, I think it looks great. We all think it does. I think the online ghost mode is a nice compromise to what we were talking about last time on how this shit doesn't usually work. And I know this. I mean, I'm not going to have online ghost mode on because I don't need to see what everyone else is doing.
I don't know. I can see that getting to be a thing between us. I know things got heated between Vin and I a few times trying to speedrun Andre's Mario Maker courses. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I can like see that being a small group thing, trying to just best people's speedrun times. That sounds fun as fuck.
If it has to be live, then I don't see it taking off for me.
But I think they've got where the ghost will show up after the fact just for speed runs, right? That where it's just it's not live.
Yeah, are you saying that like when you go back to the level, as opposed to like the first time you play it, like you'll see the ghosts? Is that what you mean? Or are you going to see the ghosts every time you play any level, like the whole time you're playing the game? I wasn't really clear on that from the direct.
I wasn't clear either. It felt like you were playing with everybody the whole time.
Well, I think I feel like there was one mode where you could see people that were playing at the same time, and then there's also where you can like see your friends' speedrun times and compete against them. I think those are just two separate things.
Okay, that makes more sense then. I think that's better than having like online multiplayer, because as I said last show, that was terrible in 3D World. I don't think Nintendo's ever going to get this right. So,
I mean, they can, but not now. My main the thing I didn't like, and I'm aware this only affects me and probably no one else that listens to our show. There was no Elephant Mario amiibo. You gave me Cat Mario and Cat Peach, but you can't give me the funny looking Elephant Mario.
That's gotta be a thing. Come on, Elephant
it would
Mario.
sell like hotcakes.
Come on. I hate to say it because I fucking hate her, but Elephant Daisy was pretty good. I think I would get an amiibo of that too. It was funny.
I mean, then they're like, here's the red Mario OLED. I'm like, you know what we're all really waiting for. Put that away and just have the game sent to my desk this October.
Isn't that the same red they use for like the Odyssey Joy-Cons or something? Yeah, it's like the same thing, isn't it? So I don't know.
Aren't the Joy-Cons slightly bigger on the OLED, Kevin?
No, the Joy-Cons are exactly the same.
I thought they were slightly bigger.
I think it would be a disaster. I would say it would be a disaster to sell OLED Joy-Cons, but this is a fucking company that did like Wii Motion Plus and like other stupid shit to invalidate their. Wow, why am I still mad about this?
The console itself is the same dimensions. It's just the smaller bezels for larger screen, and that's really the only difference.
Got it.
Man, I wonder, haha, if I can make our voices echo when we say wonder. I wonder if I could do that in editing. Wonder. Try it, Steve.
Wonder.
Okay.
Wonder.
Ooh,
wonder.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll see if that works.
Yeah, if you can do it in editing now, we're going to sound like real fucking idiots is what's going to happen.
I'll figure it out. Maybe. If not, no one will ever hear this. Okay. Let's talk about this because, all right. See, we're already grumpy. You hear that from Steve? We're already like, I hate this because
I'm actually grumpy about this.
I hate it. So what we're talking about is that Sony announced all their PlayStation Plus services are going up in price. Every single last one of them. Essential. So like basic bitch PlayStation Plus is going from $60 to $80 a year. PlayStation Plus Extra is going from $100 to $135 a year. And Premium is going from $120 to $160 a year.
American. Do you know how many fucking Canadian ruples that is? That is a lot.
That is a lot of Canadian ruples.
Don't you have to send them a bucket of maple syrup after a certain point?
Yeah, 3 buckets now.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. I mean, we can't just be sending all of Alberta's finest. I can say right now, I'm not paying for Premium anymore. I'm not paying $160 a year for this. Even if I bump it down to Extra, that's still going to be $15 more than what I'm paying right now for Premium. So I don't even feel like I can get away with that. Right? Like, no thanks. Like, I'm serious. I quite honestly don't even feel like paying the $80 for basic. Like, I probably will have to because we do this podcast and like, it might just be necessary. The only game I'm really playing online a lot right now on PlayStation is Overwatch 2, and free-to-play games are exempt from like PlayStation Plus most often, as Overwatch 2 is, as Warframe is, and like any of the other free-to-plays I do. So, but like, that's easy for me to say, Kevin, until like the Division 3 comes out or something. And then like, what the fuck am I going to do? So I hate this. I hate everything about this.
Yeah, what sticks in my craw, because I would probably, I don't know what I'm going to do either. I'm definitely not staying on premium. Like, I kind of want to say fuck them and turn everything off. And I don't play online games barely ever. But what I'm a little bit salty about is the cloud saves, right? Then cloud saves are gone. And
Yeah.
Sony already has I know I'm the only one that bitches about this, but their cloud save system fucking blows. It's terrible. It is shit. And so now we got to pay $80 American for that. Like, come the fuck on.
Awful. That's awful, Steve.
And I'm in a fairly unique position with PS5 being my first real rodeo in the Sony ecosystem here, because I'm in a position where I really, really don't feel like buying into the backlog of things I want to buy. So my lazy don't actually feel like buying games ass is probably going to keep one of the bigger tiers, and I'm not going to like it. And which one remains to be seen, because look, we all know that the main difference between Extra and what we've been affectionately calling the Royale with Cheese is access to classics on PS1, PS2, and PSP. And I was looking forward to that one. I really was, as someone that was really only casually playing them at other people's houses before. And I'm a little disappointed with the output on that so far. We all rightfully pick on Nintendo Switch Online's drip feed of games, but when another month of Sony updates comes out and all they put out is another Ape Escape game that I'm pretty sure they only just invented for the sole purpose of pissing me off, I gotta wonder what the hell's going on. They are showing up a bit more with the day one things this year, like Sea of Stars. I'm in the middle of it right now. I'm having fun, but I'd like to think the price hike is going a bit in that direction, but it's also disheartening to see, like, well, a bunch of shit's getting delisted now. Tough titties.
I think there is a chance still that they walk this back to some degree. Maybe they don't cancel it, but maybe those prices drop a bit. It seemed like there was a lot of people that were pissed off about this, but we're also in the new age of cocky ass Sony, especially like super expensive PSVR 2 and the fucking Portal. Like, that was entirely tone deaf. I don't know. I want to see them get knocked down a peg for our own good.
This is arrogant Sony. They're back. I tried to deny it for a while because I honestly didn't feel like they were here. They're here. This is it. Can't deny it anymore. Like,
they were gonna, I mean, they walked back like shutting down the PS3 and the Vita stores when people got mad about that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, again, that was a few years ago, and it seems like the corporate culture is different. But
this feels like, I think you were already gone from our previous creative endeavor, and it's just me and Steve. But do you remember when they, like, Microsoft tried to double the price of Xbox Live Gold?
Yeah.
Do you remember that
my
shit?
God.
Yeah.
And that lasted for 3 days or something.
And everyone was like, what the fuck? We didn't even have a show by the time like that was already canceled. It was just like that whole saga began and ended before we even had our next show. It was like, and we just were like sitting back like, what was that all about? I hope we're eventually talking about this way. I hope, full disclosure, we're recording this on a Monday and we're going to air it on a Thursday like usual. I hope in the intervening time, this entire discussion becomes moot. So,
Because if we're not, it's going to be a lot of, well, Steve, what have you been playing? Well, I've been playing a lot of fucking PS1 games because, when my subscription expires, I'm not renewing to Royale with Cheese again.
Yeah, see, it's a lot more useful for you. I understand why you would want this. And I'm not saying there's not value in paying this, but for me, and so let's talk about it this way. So, like last year, when these tiers were introduced of PlayStation Plus, remember how pissed I fucking got? Everyone just kept comparing this to Game Pass. And I was like, no, this is not Game Pass. This doesn't cost the same as Game Pass. They're not pretending it is Game Pass. Well, guess what? Now it costs the same as Game Pass. In fact, it probably costs a little bit more. So guess what, Sony? Maybe you need to start being Game Pass. Maybe if I'm going to pay $160 a year, I want Spider-Man 2 day one. How about that? And now I know they're not going to do that, but like, do they expect me to pay Game Pass prices for not Game Pass services? I'm sorry. Now I resisted saying that for a long time because I genuinely felt like, okay, yeah, it's expensive, but they're not doing the same thing as Game Pass because, well, they don't have to. But if they keep being cocky like this, maybe they'll start having to, because I'm not buying it.
If they were gonna jack up the output, I'm sure they would have said that at the time that they were announcing the price hike. I think they're just so overconfident. They figured we've got everybody to buy the balls. Everybody wanted a PS5, so pay us everything.
I ain't doing it, Steve.
I mean, I'm seriously just considering looking at premium next year. I'm not going to like it, but
I mean, look, but like I said, though, it means a lot more to you for doing this stuff, though. I mean,
I know, but the extra is already kind of, like I said, it's already the classics is already like a worse drip feed than Nintendo Switch is. What Nintendo Switch is doing, it's not great.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to pay $180 just so I could play more Siphon Filter.
Oh, geez, no one needs to play more of that bullshit. Steve probably remembers because I think you've probably followed me the longest on Twitter when Nintendo first announced the, Nintendo Switch Online, like how much it was going to be, like $20 a year. And people were going apeshit over this, saying, why are we paying $20 a year for this? And the question I kept posing to everybody was, what do you want for $20 that Nintendo was not giving you? I want games like, free games per month. I went, no. $20. That's what this costs per year. What do you want that they're not giving you? You know what every fucking person said to me? Well, I play games on this or that, so I wouldn't even buy a Nintendo Switch Online anyway. Then what the fuck are you arguing with me for? Asshole, shut up. You're just being contrary for no reason. I swear 3 different people who I would not back down in the conversation. I kept saying, okay, tell me what you want for $20 that you're not getting. Well, I'm not going to get it anyway. So shut up. Anyway,
I want Reggie to come to my house, make me a pizza, and suck my dick. That's what I want for $20 a year.
No, they want to argue on the internet. That's all they want to do.
That's all a lot of these people want.
Yeah. So, but my point is, it's tough. I'm just not going to do it. If they back down or they start stepping it up, then sure. But I don't see either one happening, Kevin.
Yeah. Fuck them. Fuck them.
Fuck them. Fuck them, Steve.
That's all.
Fuck them.
That's how we're ending the segment. Fuck them.
Yeah. Fuck them.
Okay.
They got money. They should be paying me $160 a year to play on their ecosystem.
That seems realistic. That seems realistic. Y'all want to talk about Embracer Group real quick? Because Jesus Christ.
That was sure nice of them, wasn't it, the other day?
Yeah. In case anyone didn't hear, Embracer Group, the people who bought up like every fucking company under the sun earlier this year, well, gee, now they're having money problems. I guess that was a bad idea, wasn't it? So they shut down Volition Studios. Volition has made Red Faction. They made Saints Row. They've been around for 30 years. They shut them down. I guess the Saints Row reboot from earlier this year didn't do that well, but like I don't think it was that bad to be like shutting people down for. I just think they needed a scapegoat and they chose one. And then they laid off 20% of Gearbox Studios and also like canceled some of their projects. Like I guess they have the autonomy to do that. So let me read this quote that we could all get mad at corporations. This past June, Embracer Group announced a restructuring program to strengthen Embracer and maintain its position as a leader in the video game industry, the statement reads. As part of that program, they evaluated strategic and operational goals and made the difficult decision to close Volition effective immediately. Brother, you went out and spent all the fucking money in the world. No one told you to do that. What are you talking about? Like, Mom, I spent all my money on cake and candy. Now I can't pay rent. Like, whose fucking fault is that? Steve. Like, I don't know if I have a question. I don't know how much of a question this is. I just can't. I mean, what the fuck? I guess is my question.
But hey, at least they, had the decency to hide behind a big old Borderlands collection that day. Wasn't that nice of them?
Oh, yeah. Put that right out immediately.
That even coming to Switch. Oh, boy.
Nobody's going to want to play them on there. Holy shit.
I already told you guys the real reason this happened is because they want to put every last cent they can muster into Biomutant 2 and make it a masterpiece. I've explained this.
Okay.
There's no other options than that's what happened.
They should just do the cut content version, stuff they couldn't fit in the first Biomutant, just kind of slap it together.
Stuff you couldn't see on TV.
Yeah.
See, I figured they listened to our show and they figured, guys, this carbon engine shit's the wave of the future. We got to give all the money to them and M2 and make sure this shit's perfect. Gearbox, you're out.
I just, ultimately, I just think it's so disgusting to just destroy art because you spent too much money. So you just take it out on all the things that you bought. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't afford this anymore. Like, that is so...
It's shitty.
Again, I don't really have an overarching question about this or point. I just wanted to just talk out loud about it real quick just because it's so... on the Sega Genesis Mini 2... And thank you if you listened to two podcasts we did about that earlier this summer. But we talked about the unreleased games on there that are now released on Sega Genesis Mini 2. And me and Ven were just talking about, God, I wonder what the hell is out there. Because we never knew about some of these until they appeared on here. And it's oh, the creator, the director of Sonic 3 just had this random puzzle game that that never got released and didn't tell anybody about until 2023. Okay. What else is out there? And corporations and capitalism basically just crushing art this way makes me so fucking infuriated in a way that I just can't even really articulate, Steve. It is maddening.
You're right. Then there's no possible way for a group as big as Embracer to even do their due diligence and figure that out. There just isn't. It's gross.
Yeah, I wish I had more to say than it sucks, but I just couldn't let this go without saying something, Jesus Christ. And I did the self victimizing fucking statements oh, we need to restructure. Maybe you shouldn't have fucking done this, assholes. Anyway, God, they're worse than the corporations in Armored Core 6, and those are the worst corporations of all time. Okay, you know what? I don't want to end the show on that note because fuck them. Okay, let's end it this way. Okay,
fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Well, I'm gonna end it on an old man grumpy note. Okay, and you guys can tell me I'm old and grumpy. Okay, that's always fun, right? That is a core tenet of Fine Time, right? I say something, middle age, and you guys are shut up, right? So let me.
You're crotchety.
Yeah, let me do that right now. I never think PC mods are funny. They're always fucking stupid. Oh wow, I turned my mech in Armored Core 6 into Homer Simpson. Well, good for fucking you. Why is that funny? I don't want to look at that. Oh boy, I did nude mods on Skyrim or something. It's are you 12 years old? What are you doing? Am I the only one who thinks this way?
No, I'm with you on this one. I don't get it either. There's definitely a place for PC mods, but the ones that are just stupid trying to be funny, I don't get it either. It's
let me think. I had a good laugh at one that popped up a few years ago where they replaced the God of War people with Simpsons characters, but that's just me being biased. But generally speaking, I get it.
Maybe it does make good quick YouTube content sometimes, because if you click on a Skyrim video expecting to see Skyrim and then Thomas the Tank Engine shows up, that can be kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's just do I want to the big Strider boss I was just talking about in Armored Core 6? I mean, if someone just turned that into Thomas the Tank Engine, I'd be what the fuck are you doing, man? You don't have to put everything in everything. I think this goes back to like my multiverses like feeling. So when we talked about that a while ago, it's just like I don't understand to put stuff into stuff. I don't know why Fall Guys has to have a Sonic costume and a Kratos costume and a everything fucking costume. Like, can't you just be Fall Guys? I feel like I'm coming from the same angle as that, basically.
I think it's a little different because with the PC mods, I think I could just look at that for a second and go, haha, that's stupid, and then never engage in it with it myself.
But do people actually want to play Need for Speed where you turn your cars into like Pixar's cars or something? Like, do you actually want to do that? I mean, I guess somebody might, because that's why people make these, but like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I do think, you know, and maybe more of the idea is people see value in like creating internet content, because you're right. As far as actually like playing the game like that, there's really no value.
Yeah, I don't get it. Okay, I'm glad you guys agree with me somewhat, because like I was thinking like, because this is so prevalent on social media, and I'm like, I don't ever think this is funny, ever. So, okay, I'm glad I'm not totally alone here, or am I?
We are with you.
No, we're with you, and I had an analogy, but I figured, nah, I don't need to be canceled over that. We could just move on to whatever else we're doing.
I mean, you could say
PC modders, fuck them.
Wow. Okay, I wasn't going that far.
No, we don't need. No. Keep on trucking, PC modders.
Okay.
Just don't enter my space.
Wow, I think that's actually worse than what Kevin said. Okay, well, let's get out of here. Let's leave. Fine Time Podcast. Join us on Twitter. See you next time. Bye.